she's creepy, kooky, and center stage. This devilishly delightful musical is headed to the River City, and we're in the know with the star behind Wednesday Addams. We have Melody Munitz. Melody, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we'll start with the first question. You're playing the iconic Wednesday Addams. What's it like stepping into the shoes of such a beloved character?
It's an honor. She is beloved, and she's iconic for generations before I existed. I mean, going all the way back to the original Charles Addams cartoons, which began in the New Yorker magazine in 1938, all the way up to now with season 2 of this Wednesday Netflix series coming out later this year. Wednesday really has had a long-running era, and it's really a treat to get to step in and add my own little spice to Wednesday.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you right away about that show that you were talking about. It has such a devoted fan base, especially with that Netflix series so fresh in people's minds. How does your character, Wednesday, compare? I know you were talking about the little spice you like to add to your character.
Absolutely. So what's really interesting is in that Wednesday Netflix show, Wednesday is 16, she's off at an academy, she's off at school, and in our version it's different. It's, you know, this based on the same family, the same IP, but it's a different context, and so a slightly different character as a result. Wednesday's 18, she's at home and she's fallen in love with this normal boy from Ohio named Lucas, and she reveals to her parents that they're actually engaged and their families are going to meet. So we have a kind of different context for this character, but we still have this same grim, dark, gothic girl who thinks she doesn't have any emotions and then finds out what happens when she's thrust into these very emotional situations, whether she's, you know, solving murder mysteries on the Wednesday Netflix TV show, or whether she's falling in love in this middle of Central Park where her family's mansion is in the musical.
Absolutely. Melody, you were kind of telling me about, you know, the character and the storyline. How do you strike that balance in your performance between, you know, the dark humor but also the heart with it?
Honestly, it's been a challenge because Wednesday is known to be so dark, grim, and emotionless, but when you're on, you know, when you're on a close-up on TV, that works to be completely deadpan. But when you're in a 5,000-seat theater, it's got to be more animated. And so there's kind of that negotiation that has to happen. And then secondarily, the story really makes Wednesday be something a little bit different. She isn't just totally grim. In this version, she is falling in love. So we watch her have these really stark shifts between feeling completely this Wednesday we're used to seeing, this dark, reserved, and then seeing her fall in love with things like puppy dogs and Disney World and smiley faces, and we see her kind of touch on to these little points of joy. And she has to really reckon how to knit those two identities together, and that's ultimately the story we get to tell.
Absolutely. What's the most exciting and fun part about being part of the Addams family? I know the Addams family has been to the Civic Center before, but for you, what's the most exciting part?
Something I'm loving about this tour is how many places we're seeing. We were just talking about it a bit before we got on live, and we're visiting about 85 cities with this tour, and this is city number 48 here in Peoria, so we're about halfway through. We just had our 100th performance, and so getting to see so many communities and bringing our story freshly into new environments is such a treat, and you get to kind of see how it plays for different communities and make some different jokes that are, you know, for the locals, and kind of highlight things that will attach themselves to each city and each state.
Absolutely. And Melody, for young performers who are dreaming of, you know, a career like yours, real briefly, what is your advice to them?
I would say to stay open. I never could have predicted I'd be playing Wednesday Addams. Doing a Broadway national tour was my biggest dream, but Wednesday and I have very different demeanors. We're pretty different people. I'm a little smilier, even though I've got the braids and the black and white. But I never could have predicted I'd be here, and that's sort of the really exciting thing about a career in the arts and the entertainment industry is you never know exactly what's next. So stay open, stay curious, stay excited, and just be willing to say yes and find out where it takes you, and just be ready to go and stay creative and stick with it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And the Addams family is coming to the Civic Center. You can get more information by going to the Peoria Civic Center's website.